Okay, everyone, Wednesday the 20th of December, and we're here. I'm Hamish. Tony is here as well. Celtic are still not great, but, you know, give it a few days and we might batter Livingston and get back to what we do best. Few things we can chat about today. I've already got comments flying in. Hi, everyone there. Bit of stuff yesterday about the Derby allocation stuff, Tony, so we can chat about that. Maybe Lowland League as well if there's enough time at the end, if we don't rabbit on for ages and ages. How are things with you?
I'm fine, Hamish. All good. Yeah, can't complain. Yourself?
I was expecting a lengthier answer there, but fair enough. If things are just okay, that's all right. There's nothing wrong with that.
I met a friend of yours the other day as well. He was asking for Yasim Rabani.
Yes.
I met him for the first time, so that was good to speak to him. So he told me to pass on his regards to your good self.
Brilliant. Great guy. How was the other night, by the way? Was it Johan Mialbi?
Johan Mialbi, yeah, it was very good actually. He was very interesting. Gave some nice insight into stuff that was happening around about the club at the time he was there. And funny guy as well. So it was good fun. Good guy. Good player as well. Great player.
Yeah, we could do with him at the back at the moment, meeting those crosses. Yes, I'll do the wee shout out first. Our sponsors at the top. Thanks again to them, MPH Group and Navian. MPH Group are Scotland's award-winning family-run all-trades specialist. Bit of a tongue twister that, but we're getting there. They're covering mainland Scotland, and they have an enticing Navier boiler winter promotion. If you choose them, you're choosing top tier efficiency, and you'll also be getting a free Navian internet controller. Navian are the big dogs. They're gunning for the product of the year at the H&V News Awards, which are apparently the Oscars of the heating world. MPH, are you familiar with those awards?
Oh, I'm not familiar with those awards. I'm familiar with this script.
Yeah. Navian do well, I think, at those awards. We'll maybe get an invite if we keep reading this out one day. They'll get us along. We can get the shirt and tie out and enjoy ourselves. The MPH offer flexible finance options, so you can gear up for the chill and consider making a smart move with MPH and Navian. And thanks again to them for sponsoring this video. Now, bit of, I don't know, is it drama anymore with the most tiresome topic in Scottish football? And Scottish football has a lot of tiresome topics. Artificial pitches, boring. Is the split a good idea? Boring. League reconstruction, boring. Summer football hasn't come up for a while, but when it does, totally boring. This might be the most boring of all. It's gone on so long. We know what club started all of this allocation stuff, and there doesn't seem to be any kind of solution at the moment. Tony, are you as sick, fed up as me with this?
Oh, without a doubt, Hamish. The one club has acted like adults throughout this process. It's a 50-50, but I think everybody knows who that is. And I wrote about it when Ange was the manager, and I put it back up on Facebook last night and Twitter. I was right then, and I'm right now. It's right now. Celtic have been adults throughout all of this. Rangers decided to cut the allocation, and we all know why. They were just fed up seeing Celtic come to Ibrox and win convincingly. I think they cut the allocation after Celtic won for the fifth time on the spin at Ibrox, wasn't it? Which was the 3-2 game.
Possibly. Yeah.
When Odsonne Edouard scored and Celtic had 10 men, Rodgers was the manager. And that was it. That seemed to be the straw that broke the camel's back, and all this allocation nonsense started. There's that phrase, isn't it? You reap what you sow in this world. So they can't bleat and jump up and down about what's happening now when, they are now being the victims of something that they started. So I can't, and whilst I can understand, decisions saying that they should get an allocation, Celtic are perfectly within their rights to adopt the stance that they have, and good on Celtic for doing that.
Yeah, it's been such a kind of long, weird thing that's gone on, and there's been so many kind of moves from either side, and not much of it's been particularly productive. Just kind of looking back at at how it's gone. I think one of my frustrations from the Celtic side of thing is that we've allowed the narrative to be shifted on this, and for me, and hopefully for you and everyone watching this, it's very clear like why the allocation was shut. And I know they like to use that excuse of, we've got all these season ticket holders who wanted a seat. Fair enough, but you'd had those season ticket holders all those years previously when you gave us that large away allocation. It was because we were finding it so easy at Ibrox and because we were lording it over them every time we went to Ibrox. That's the reason the allocation was cut. Yet now we've kind of got a bit of debate about that, and we've also got Celtic almost being made out to be the people who are against away supports, because Rangers now put in their statement, we always want away supports at Ibrox and we always want Rangers to be backed by away supports in away games, yet not too many away supports. You can't have too many because they might beat you every time and enjoy themselves too much. And you kind of get this weird thing now where people are blaming us equally, and Celtic are getting the blame for not wanting away fans at all. When Celtic do want away fans, we're just not prepared to put up with this shoddy arrangement at the moment. Celtic's position is so clear that we want a return to the old allocations. Now, I don't think that's going to happen. I think we're kind of past that point. I think the kind of best case scenario from my point of view is we're going to get some sort of like 5% rule for away fans, which, like, I made the point last week when Feyenoord came to Celtic Park, their fans made a lot of noise. I think that would be good for a derby. We'd get a decent allocation at Ibrox. You would see us, you would hear us. It would improve the spectacle of the fixture. So that's the way I think it's heading. But I've just a wee bit of frustration that Celtic haven't really made that clear, that their intentions clear too often. Yesterday might have been maybe the first or second actual statement we've had. We've had them through fan media and through their kind of journalists they're in touch with, but yesterday might have been the first actual statement we've had on the issue, and they've kind of allowed the narrative to drift a wee bit.
Yeah, I think Celtic was reclaiming the narrative and framing the narrative, as you want to call it, because of the reasons that you've said, that they're that they were now being seen as some kind of, the blame lay at Celtic's door. Blame doesn't lie at Celtic's door. We all know why the allocations were cut. You've gone through it there quite succinctly. And, I said to you off air just before we came on, it's small faces time for me, all or nothing. And likewise, I don't think you're going to get all or nothing. So the best you can hope for is a European allocation, isn't it? A 5% rule, something like that. And as you say, enough presence for you to be heard. But also as well, Celtic's concerns were about safety too, because of the last few times that they've been to Ibrox, and we all know what has happened. And then, Rangers supporters say, and that doesn't happen at Celtic Park. I'm not saying it doesn't, but I think, Joe Hart was picking glass out his goal, wasn't he?
Yeah.
The last time he went,
physio was
hit with a bottle and needed treatment to stitches and all that kind of stuff. And there was still no guarantee. I think they said they were going to put nets up. Is that right?
John's pointing out at the moment, safety nets was the proposal apparently.
Which I don't think so. So I think yesterday was a reclaiming of that narrative, saying no, we all know why this has happened. And good on Celtic, and I put my piece of comments there, time Celtic called Rangers derby tickets bluff. That's a piece I wrote 2022 at some point. And I said every time that the ticket fiasco I was mentioned, I was going to put it online. And I started with saying Ian Crocker's commentary when Dodson Edwards scored, keep your distance, Rangers, that's the message. Keep your distance. And I ended with that quote. And yesterday was very much that. If you're not going to return to the original allocations, keep your distance. And I think that's fair.
Yeah. We've already had a comment in saying this is totally boring. We've spoken about this for long enough. Nothing ain't going to happen to change the allocation. Let's focus on things that are more important. More than happy to do that, Lanky, which is something I've actually been called in the past. Many times, let me just say. People don't realise that. But it's Yeah, I just wish we hadn't played along with them with our 700, 800 thing for 2 or 3 seasons. I wish we'd taken this stance right away. And then I think we would have kind of reached a conclusion. Hopefully it's sorted out, though. I know you get people who don't necessarily share my opinions, who kind of feel we don't want Rangers fans at Celtic Park. My view is that, I just love the derby matches, and I think the derby matches have lost a bit. A good bit, I would say, since they took the huff. So Celtic want it, I want it. I know not everyone wants it, but for me, for the betterment of Scottish football's biggest game, I think it's important. But not everyone will agree with me.
You dilute the spectacle, Hamish, from a derby match if there's no away presence in either ground. So I'm like you. I want an away presence. I think there's nothing better than seeing a Celtic presence at Ibrox. And, I mean, there was few better sights in football, seeing the full Broomloan Road end celebrating if he did happen to go to Ibrox and win. So, and vice versa. Growing up, when Rangers used to get the old Rangers end, as it was known, Jane Field Street, that's the most away support I would ever see at Celtic Park. If you were standing in the Celtic end watching, looking across. So, and as you say, I'm of the opinion that there's a contingent that deserves to be there, should be there. I'm not all for locking away fans out. It's not, I don't think it's in keeping with the spirit and nature of football. Rivalry's a big part of it. And I think there's more to unite than divide you in football, or there certainly should be. And I think this at the minute is just causing so much division, when I think have an adult conversation, let's unite and get back to some kind of normality when it comes to derbies and away supporters, whether that be 5%, 10%, call it what you like, but there has to be some middle ground to be reached here.
Yeah. Chilpel asking, will the Green Brigade be back for the game? Not actually sure what the situation is there. I don't think anyone really knows. We'll see how that plays out. It would certainly, in my opinion, again, be a boost to everyone if we could just get Celtic Park firing for that match, because it's a huge game. Before then, we have got Livy at the weekend. We've then got Dundee away after that.
Boxing Day.
Yeah. Have your thoughts changed at all in the last couple of days?
I'm a wee bit more optimistic than I was on Monday. Monday was, Monday was, she sort of started by saying it was the Brothers Grimm. We were very pessimistic and a bit down on Monday, weren't we? So apologies for that. But as the week goes on, I'm getting a bit more pessimistic. I think it's
optimistic.
Sorry, optimistic. Yes, sorry.
I was going to say.
There you go. I think the state of the Celtic supporters tells you now some of the minds that they're worried about Livingston coming on Saturday. They shouldn't. You just say to yourself, how has it come to this that you're worried about Livingston, who I don't think have scored a goal in 900 minutes of football? Is that right? Something like that. And,
yeah.
So I think, I'm a wee bit more optimistic about Celtic's chances on Saturday. If they can't beat Livingston, who have not scored a goal in that length of time, then there's something seriously wrong, isn't there?
Yeah, Maestro asking, what changes with Celtic's approach. I assume he's talking about on the pitch stuff now. Yeah, I mean, it's a tough one, because we kind of need a reaction from somewhere, but are the ingredients there for a reaction? Is it enough is last Saturday's game and how horrific it was enough, to get a reaction, or are we just going to have to stumble through these next 3 games and hope that the reaction arrives with maybe players coming back from injury, or players being signed, or just the January break in general? Because as I said on Monday, we have had chances for reactions this season. It's not quite arrived on most occasions. So what are you thinking?
I think we need a reaction from everybody, and I include the manager in that too, because the manager seemed kind of a bit resigned on Saturday, didn't he, to kind of shrug of the shoulder stuff. Did that performance surprise you? No, not really. Well, do something about it. If I was Brendan Rodgers, I'd be showing them everything that was wrong about Saturday. and then also pinpointing stuff that's gone well this season and saying, right, this is the Jekyll and Hyde nature of this football team. You know, you're capable of that, but you're also capable of this. So what's it to be? You know, so and I include him as well. He has to look at his own performance in this, because he's talked about he was struggling to motivate and inspire the guys as well. So he has to take his part in it too. But I'm expecting a big reaction. I remember he said I think it was after the Rugby Park game, he said he was expecting a reaction in the Hibs game, which he got, because Celtic actually played very well in that, and they won 4-1. So I'm expecting another type of reaction like that, Hamish. And if they don't get it, then you know you're banging trouble.
Yeah, I mean, he made changes for that Hibs game, didn't he? Like Iwata and Johnston and was it all started after playing quite well.
Yeah.
I would like to see changes in the team on Saturday. I don't think you can send out those same players who are struggling badly. I really, like, people might think it's drastic. I would start Mitchell Frame on Saturday at left back, because I kind of think, you know, what have you got to lose at this stage? I don't think, I know Greg Taylor and Alexandro Bernabe at the moment are going through a torrid time. I thought he looked fearless when he played in the Champions League game, and I think we made the point earlier in the week that you have to be careful with these young players. But sometimes these young players, when you put them in, they just respond. I mean, Kieran Tierney's an obvious example. I know not everyone is Kieran Tierney, and listen, Mitchell Frame may go on to be that level. There's a fair chance he doesn't, because Tierney's so good. But some players have that mentality when other players are struggling, just to be given an opportunity and to go for it. And I just think, like, making a change like that makes a big statement. It would give everyone at Celtic Park a wee bit of a boost. I've already had a few comments here saying I'm not looking forward to going on Saturday. I think suddenly you'd be feeling a bit better about it if you saw maybe a fresh face in there. I'm wondering if Anthony Ralston plays it at right back. I'm kind of on the fence about that one, because Johnson's a little bit off form. And I actually thought Ralston was, as much as I don't massively rate him, I thought he kind of was one of our better players on Saturday. I thought he offered a bit of drive that maybe Johnson didn't. So that's a debate in my head as well. I think, you know, centre backs I think are kind of all right at the moment. You know, going forward, I would certainly want to see Dyson Maeda back in that starting lineup for the weekend. You know, in the midfield, maybe a wee bit of kind of fresh blood in there, but again, the options maybe aren't great. But you know what I mean, like just some changes just to spice things up a bit.
I think he has to, doesn't he? In order to get a reaction, he has to. If he couldn't motivate those players last week, he's going to have to motivate a different set of players for this one. And this presents an entirely different challenge, because you know how Livingston are going to play, and you know it's. And if you don't
total football they play, isn't it? Expansive total football.
Something like that, yeah. I believe it. I believe that's what it's called, yeah. Total football. But yeah, so you know exactly what you're up against. And it could go one of two ways. Either you pummel them and get the reaction that you did against Hibs, or it's a turgid slog, isn't it? Mm. And at this moment, your money's on the latter, isn't it? So I think, like you, he has to G it up and freshen the team up and get something, some impetus, some kind of boost. Maybe somebody like Mitchell Frame coming in. I don't know. Is it a chance to offer Odin Thiago Holm another run out, something like that in the midfield? And as you say, he's young enough, play without fear. You know, go and stamp your authority on this game. And then what do you do up front? Do you bring Owen? Do you keep Kyogo there just to play through the mini goal drought that he's on, or goal drought, whatever you want to call it? And but he has to get some sort of reaction. I think something like Mitchell Frame would help, because I think the fans would be right for that from the get-go, so you'd get that kind of groundswell straight away. But he has to do something. And then also, would he go two up front? Would he actually change the system and actually do that? And because I think a lot of Celtic supporters are kind of craving that as well, aren't they? Would he be bold and play both O and Kyogo? I mean,
Don't know if he's got form for doing that.
No,
I remember, like, you take me back
it's
to the Lennon season, was it 1920, when we were really struggling, and he made the change during the winter break to go Griffiths and Edward, it would have been, and we really kicked on after that. So I feel like if you did do that, like, I'm pretty sure it would give us a bit of a boost, just because it'd be something different, and maybe it would take the pressure off O and Kyogo, because they'd have each other. It's just whether Rodgers would kind of want to abandon what usually is his plan to do that.
And the thing is, it's certainly an option, isn't it? Because the options and the teams that he's sending out at the minute are not performing and it's not functioning. So maybe you have to turn around and say, okay, let's try this and see where we go with it. And as you say, the Edward and Griffiths one's a classic example of something that ended up, turned out pretty well, didn't it? Or it certainly gave you a jag and a shot in the arm. And I think something like that is maybe what's required to give Celtic a shot in the arm at this moment in time in the season.
Something has to change. I think that's the key message here. He can't just put that same team out, because it will just look the same. Like, if he plays that same team as he did on Saturday, we might win because it's Livingston, but we will not get a much better performance. I think the only way we get a much better performance if there's something different about that team, whether that be personnel, formation. The fans need to feel something different as well, because at the moment it just feels like we're kind of staggering from game to game. There's no kind of end goal here. We don't feel part of any kind of big project here. And I get that it might just be a case of, it's a bit of a slog. I mean, this time of the year is a slog even at the best of times and the best of seasons. But I just think, switch something up. Give us a bit of belief from somewhere. Maybe one of these players comes in. I saw a shout out there as well. Maybe you play Liam Scale centre-back, bring Narotsky in with Carter Vickers. Again, something like that. Just something fresh that you suddenly go, right, that was quite good. We can work with that. Then you get to January, hopefully, I think Reo Hatate, like, I'm counting down the days to that guy's back. He is going to make, like, he's almost like our kind of get out of jail. I mean, I used this yesterday for January, get out of jail free card, but Hatate feels a wee bit like that, because he for me is the most talented player in Scotland, the most talented in terms of what he can do and how he can run a game. When he comes back, he's going to be huge for us, and I think he'll immediately make a big difference to our team. So, like, I'm kind of holding on to that as a bit of positivity. Liel Abada could maybe do something similar. I'm less sure, not quite as sure as Hatate with that, but I think he could be big. Like, we do still have the makings. We just need a bit of a jolt from somewhere.
Yes, yeah. And also, see if he does put out the same team, Hamish, I tell you who it will give a boost to: your opposition.
Yeah.
And they would think, okay, that's the same team that, that Hearts beat. That template where you sort of sit in and then hit them with something, i.e. 2 set-piece goals. So they would play for that anyway. So I think there has to be some change in Saturday, something to go, okay, get Livingston thinking as well. And I'm not worried per se about playing Livingston. I'm more worried about what Celtic team turns up. But I know fine well that, it has the makings of being a real turgid bore, the way Celtic are playing at the minute, unless, as you say, they get a jolt from somewhere, and whether that be playing 2 up front or mixing it up in defence, bringing Mitchell Frame and, giving somebody another chance in the midfield to, put the shackles off and unleash them. So something has to happen, because they can't keep doing the same thing and can't keep producing the same kind of performances like the first half at St Johnstone, the second half at Rugby Park, and then the whole 90 minutes against Hearts. It's unacceptable, really, isn't it? Let's be honest. So I think everybody is aware of that and agrees with that.
Yeah, we need something new for the weekend. That midfield still the thing for me. I want Callum McGregor, playing a bit further forward right now. I'm not sure I want that long term, but we can kind of come to that. But I feel like right now we need that drive in the midfield, because you look back at our recent games and the best performance probably was that Hibs game, and probably was that second half at St Johnstone. And I think for both of them he was really kind of on the front foot, wasn't he? I feel like he like the one thing, Callum McGregor, he's not having a great time of it at the moment, but he works hard. If anything, this might sound ridiculous. If anything, at the moment, he's doing too much running. He's almost like covering other players, where you kind of just want him to calm down a wee bit. I feel like he's doing, a couple of players' jobs at the moment. But I think if we can get him, a wee bit further forward, impacting the game and having someone a bit deeper. The issue is, I think Iwata is going to be out this weekend, but we'll wait and see how that goes. So yeah, we're feeling a bit better. I'm noticing a wee bit more positivity. There's time to go. And yeah, I'm kind of ready to hopefully get back on things on Saturday. I don't know if we'll be saying that at 3:15, depending how we start the game. But there's always hope there. Just finally, this actually happened, I think, on Monday, but the Lowland League vote. So basically, you may or may not have seen this. Celtic B will be able to play in the Lowland League over the next 2 seasons after this. There was a vote between the Lowland League clubs about the B teams. It's only ourselves and Hearts that have B teams in the Lowland League at the moment. I think it passed by like 1 vote. It was like 8-7 or something like that. So it was pretty tight. But the B team are going to be able to continue in that league. And I know there's a bit of an outcry in the rest of Scottish football about it and all that. But as far as Celtic fans, Celtic goes, I think it's good news. We just want to see more of those B team players making the step up.
That's the thing, isn't it, Hamish? That the whole purpose of the B team was to accelerate the process of B team players coming into the first team fold. It's not really happened, has it? So people are arguing the toss over whether the playing in the Lowland League has been beneficial to the Celtic B team. I still think playing competitive football at any level is better for the players, but you look at the likes of the ones that are on the fringes. Obviously, the latest one's Mitchell Frame, but Rocco Vata's been in and around it for ages and not really made that jump or the breakthrough to the point where he's now being touted for moves elsewhere.
From what I'm hearing, I think he might be away.
He might be away, yeah. So that's disappointing, isn't it? That you have talented players there that are opting to go elsewhere because they're doing as much as they can in the B team. They hit that kind of glass ceiling, and then they don't get their opportunity in the first team, because we all love a Cinderella story like that, don't we? Academy players to come through and do it for the first team. You mentioned one earlier, Kieran Tierney. That's been the best example in a long time. So, and then obviously you've still got Mikey Johnson kicking around the first team just now, but everybody's using him are polarised, aren't they? So, but you just hope that by playing in the Lowland League that they can get that kind of production line and be that feeder to the first team. But it's very hard. I understand that a lot of these players are competing against bigger, better, stronger players, but I think that pathway should always be there, and you want it to be there. But in the past while, it's been kind of shut off, hasn't it? To the point where these players get disillusioned, I think, with Celtic and their first team opportunities and chances. And like Vata could be heading out the door, like Ben Doak as well. Ben Doak was starting to get his chance, but decided he wanted to go to Liverpool. That's fair enough. It's their prerogative, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, it's whether these players are good enough. That might be one of the questions. Yeah. The other one is, do you know they're good enough until they're actually given a chance? Because I seem to remember, again, going back to Tierney, that he was one that the club were, I think, looking to maybe move on, or he was looking to move on before he eventually got his chance and obviously took it. So I kind of feel sometimes like, it's worth giving a player just an opportunity, like we did with Mitchell Frame. He already showed to me he's got something. We don't know exactly what that is, but he's certainly got something about him at that level. So, but yeah, there's the pressure as well at the moment. It's maybe not the best environment, but then again, it might be the right time for someone to come in and give us all a boost.
That's the thing, isn't it? When is the right environment? I think a game against Livingston is probably the perfect environment, isn't it? I know the need for points is great, but I saw the way Mitchell Frame, or you watched the way Mitchell Frame handled playing in the Champions League. He didn't bat an eyelid, did he? Did you see, at least he showed you something and you thought, there's something about you, young man, that I want to see more of now, because that didn't faze you at all. And so I liked that. I liked what he brought there. So and hopefully there's more like him that can produce like that. But you can't see it at the minute, can't you? That's the thing. So, but here's hoping. But if they're going to play competitive Lowland League football for the next 2 years, then surely that has to be a good thing, long term.
Yeah. Yes. I don't know how the first team would get on in the Lowland League right now. There'd be some interesting matchups in there. Listen, let's be positive. We can look forward. I think Ryan will be back with us tomorrow. All being well, so we'll be back up to a 3 and we can look ahead a bit more to the Livingston game on Saturday. Big thanks again, Tony, for joining me. Thanks everyone for tuning in and commenting away. And remember to give us a wee sub, and we shall speak to you this time tomorrow.